Welcome to Between the Covers Summer Series, where we put the spotlight on our South Florida authors. Hi, I'm Ann Bocock, and I am so excited to welcome Brandon Bryant, NFL football defensive end and children's book author. He's just released his second children's book, Can I Pet That Dog? You played college football in South Florida at FAU. You had a career in the NFL. So how do you go from football field to children's author?
So it was something that I always wanted to do. Not necessarily write children's books, but just to write and to see my work out there. I didn't necessarily think it would ever happen, but actually during the pandemic, I got the idea to do it and go through with it. And then 4 years later, I finally was able to self-publish the book.
The first book is called So You Want to Be an Athlete. Now, granted, this is the dream of little kids. Now, I don't know the stats, but very few people make it to your level. What did you want to stress with that book?
I wanted to stress that it can be done. It's going to be very hard. Everybody can do it, but everybody won't do it. The people who will succeed and be able to go far in the world of athletics are going to be the people that work very hard and have a plan. And I also wanted to stress the importance of academics in the book.
Well, I'm going to go back to football for a second, because for the kids that really want this, they want that college scholarship, they want to get into the NFL, there's only a few slots here.
Yeah, there's a few slots, and there's the stat is something like a fraction of a percent of every high school athlete actually goes to play Division I. So it is kind of a 1 in a million kind of thing. So, as I said, I just wanted it to be known. Everyone can. Everyone, we talk about talent and God-given abilities and all these things, but the thing that's often overlooked is the effort that we put in. Everyone thinks that all these guys in the NFL, they're there because they were born this way, and it's just they're in their destiny. But nobody really understands how hard these people work at a young age. The people that we see on TV and we see how great they are, we only see the finished product. We don't realize that they've been working day after day since 6th, 7th grade.
The second book, the latest book, Can I Pet That Dog? Sweet book. Great question. As a dog mom myself, I wish all parents would teach that to their kids. Talk about that book.
Yeah, Can I Pet That Dog? I wanted to have a fun story, a funny story, a back and forth, very repetitive, which is, as we all know, it's very important for young kids to gain the confidence in reading, to have just a repetitive phrase over and over within a book. So I wanted to have that repetitiveness, to breed that familiarity with kids. But also, it's a great story about bite prevention and consent. So I wanted to have a fun story, like I said, repetitive, and I wanted to have an actual message. So in this case, it's bite prevention and consent. Kids know, maybe a kid has a dog at home, and their dog's friendly, lovely, furry animal, goofball, full of joy. But every dog isn't like that. These dogs have different personalities, and hey, maybe the dog's just like us. Maybe the dog's having a bad day. So it's important to ask, can I pet that dog? I
love the repetitive part. The child is asking, can I pet over, fine, but there is a happy ending.
Yes, yeah.
Brandon, there is a literacy problem in this country. There are lots of reasons why. But you have pointed out, if a kid falls behind in grade level reading, this is going to follow him or her for a lifetime.
Yes. So, they say that if a child isn't reading proficiently by 4th grade, they most likely never will. And if they aren't reading proficiently, what else can you do? How can you learn how to code a computer? How can you be a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer if you can't read, you don't have these basic skills? And also the other dangers that you're putting yourself, in a statistic waiting to happen. Teenage pregnancy, homelessness, incarceration, the stats they're there and they're overwhelming, and it's all something that can be prevented, if we just we all, do our part to get these kids, more involved in reading and in literature.
Is that the passion with what you're doing now, to foster literacy?
Yes, that is the passion. I think it's one small thing I can do to make sure that, I'm helping out the generation after me, being a better place than, what we currently see.
Well, from where I sit, what you're doing isn't small. Were you the outlier, the football star who was also a good student and a good reader?
So I became a good student. In high school, I was well educated. I would consider myself an intelligent an intelligent kid or an intelligent student, but I just didn't see the value in it. I didn't care. I was under the impression that, hey, I'm good at football. This is what I want to do. If I do this and I succeed, then who cares about school? And that was my thought process maybe into like 10th grade. You know, not obviously not my entire life, but probably 9th, 10th grade. I just, you know, I fell behind, and I remember my GPA was like I had a 1.3 GPA my 9th and 10th grade year in high school. Then I get to FAU, my junior senior year in high school. I got the ball rolling, and then in college, I left FAU with a 3.75 GPA, and I had a 4.0 actually my final 2 semesters at
Talk
FAU.
about turning it around.
Yeah, turned, and it was simply just because of effort. I realized that this is something that has to be done, and I put that effort forth, and there it is.
So what's tougher, the pressure in the 4th quarter or trying to instill a love of literacy in first graders?
Definitely the 4th quarter. The 4th quarter is tough because, there's so much riding on it. You got, a million people watching the game, but, I would say, although that is more of a pressure situation, getting a kid to enjoy reading and to enjoy your book is definitely more rewarding.
What's the best feedback that you've ever gotten from the kids or from their parents?
So from the parents, I've gotten, a couple, highlights that I just can't forget. And one is that every once in a while, a parent comes up to me and they honestly say this, it's not a joke. This is his first and only book, or his or her first or only book. And he or she loves it. They have books at school, they read at school, but they just didn't have any books at home. And this is his first book, he loves it, and, he doesn't put it down, or, just in that same breath, when they say, hey, it's their favorite book, or, my kid just, he was in a similar situation, what I just explained, or hey, my kid couldn't understand that there's more to life than sports and that you have to have that academic piece, but this book is helping me teach them that. So, those 2 things are I love to hear it.
You hear that and you're on the right path.
Yes.
What would young Brandon Bryant think of this man here sitting in front of me who is a children's author?
I think he would be proud. I think he would be happy. And I think he would be inspired. And maybe if he would have saw this at a younger age, he would have been a better student sooner.
I hope you keep this up, and I hope there's a lot more books down the pike.
Thank you.
I am so excited that you've moved into children's books. You are going to have such an impact on this young generation. I can't wait to see what's next. The titles are So You Want to Be an Athlete and Can I Pet That Dog? Brandon, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm Ann Bocock. Please join me on the next Between the Covers.